Yo, what's good YouTube? ZAMCRO here, aka Scoop, back with the International Trainers League. We've had a little bit of bad weather, some bad internet problems, and haven't been able to get this out, but finally able to get it out. And we've got the ITL Season 2, or excuse me, Season 8, Week number 2, and we've got the recaps, or the recap and the power rankings. And basically what I do in these recaps is I recap over all the battles and the matchups and stuff and what happened. Go over my pick'ems, how I fared from what I thought would happen and what actually happened. I talk about I give my opinion on what I thought was Pokemon of the Week and why. I give the power rankings 1 through 12. I talk about all the transactions that happened in week 2 that will be effective in week 3. And last but not least, I'll give my following week, which will be week 3, pick'ems. And my opinion on who I think is going to win in the upcoming week. So, like I said, I am a little behind, so I am going to... I'm not going to rush through it or anything. I am going to try to keep it consistent and things like that. But at the same time, week 3's already happened, but I do all my predictions before the weeks happen, despite when the videos come out. So nothing like that's going to change. Anyways, let's go ahead and hop into the recap and see what actually happened this week. Alright, so in week number 2, we had the Montreal Monfernos taking on the Wisconsin Weezing, where the Wisconsin Weezing actually defeated the Montreal Monfernos, and I got that wrong. The San Francisco Arcaniners defeated the Zagreb Zangooses. I expected that. I thought it would be close, and it was, and I expected that. And you guys can see at the bottom I went 3 of 6 in my pick'em, so not too well, but I did get a few right, and another one I got right was the New York Cosmogs over the New Orleans Faints. The Rocky Mountain Marowaks and the Venus Shamans was a tough one to call. I think I had the Rocky Mountain Marowaks coming out in that one, and I got that one wrong, I believe. And yeah, the Sydney Sharpedos came out over top of the Golden Rods of Strike, as I expected that. And then the Reno Reggies lost to the Portland Crowbats, where I actually thought the Reno Reggies would have the momentum and take that one too. So I got that one wrong. I got the Zangooses. Well, let's see here. I got the Montreal Monfernos versus the Wisconsin Weezing wrong. So game 1 wrong, game 2 right, game 3 right, game 4 wrong, game 5 right, and game 6 wrong. Okay. And in my opinion, Pokemon of the Week goes to Mega Venusaur. Now I know it might not have got like 6 kills like Slurpuff did last week, but this thing was able to come in and put things to sleep. It put things to sleep 3 or 4 times, throwing off Elite Seed about 5 or 6 times, and it was very annoying for Sebi to deal with, despite having Mega Alakazam. The Wisconsin Weezing Helmy, he brought like a squad that really didn't allow Mega Alakazam to do too much. So yeah, it was really interesting. But yeah, I went 3 of 6 on my pick'ems, and I think the Pokemon of the Week, in my opinion, was Mega Venusaur, despite not having a lot of kills and so on and so forth. But I guess we can go ahead and dive deeper into the matches and talk about them a little bit. So here we are with the replay, and you see Sebi brings the Mega Alakazam, Celesteela, Hydreigon, Hariyama, Clefable, and the Fortress, and Helmy actually brings Pikachu, which is pretty cool, the Jirachi, Zoroark, Chansey, Mega Venusaur, and the Landorus Therian. And like I mentioned, this Mega Venusaur put in the work, and I'm pretty sure Helmy leads off with it, and Sebi leads off with his Fortress, and I believe he's going to put him to sleep with the Sleep Powder. Immediately throws off a Lead Seed, and like I was saying, dude, this thing just put in the work. If you look at Helmy's team composition too, Mega Alakazam can't really go ham, and I mean, it can go ham, but it can't really just come in on Mega Venusaur and click Psychic and claim one. But yeah, just check out this Mega Venusaur though. Comes in here on turn 5, gets taunted, but it eats these hits up like it's breakfast. It honestly does. And yeah, it's going to be able to throw off, or excuse me, it's not because it was taunted. Every time that Sebi brings in Celesteela on Helmy's Landorus, He's able to U-turn out, and he always goes out into his Mega Venusaur predicting either a lead seed or a protect or something like that, expecting this Celesteela to potentially not have flying coverage, and it has revealed a lead seed and protect already, so you never know. And he's able to just throw off another sleep powder, and he's outpacing the Celesteela as well, so he's able to get this off first. And it becomes very annoying for Sebi to deal with. He's landing the sleep powders, he's landing the lead seeds, and Mega Venusaur is just being a huge issue. While he's not doing much damage, he's not taking any damage, especially in conjunction with his lead seed recovery, and then having his dual stab in Giga Drain and Sludge Bomb. So this thing's really, really hard for Sebi to deal with due to the team composition. And then I believe it comes in again on like turn 41, I believe. Let's just go ahead and get there. It comes in on this turn again on Celesteela, and the Celesteela does pack Air Slash, but it bounces off. Mega Venusaur is so bulky, and just look at the work it's put in. It's been able to effectively wear down Hydreigon and Celesteela. I mean, Celesteela has recovered back up since, but it was wore down pretty good, and Sebi's not been able to get any kind of offensive momentum in this match at all, like absolutely zero. And he also has this excuse me, Helmy has this heat Jirachi set, kind of heat. It's got the charge beam on there, so he's able to actually, and with lead seed on the Celesteela, he'll be able to 1v1 this and put himself in a position to eliminate the rest of Sebi's squad with this Jirachi. So I think this thing drops to a flash cannon. Clefable eventually drops to a flash cannon as well, and I believe he actually saves differential, doesn't let the Mega Alakazam get the knockout with Shadow Ball and goes out to Zoroark. But yeah, that's basically the game. Mega Venusaur being a huge issue, Pikachu picking up a surprise knockout, and then this Jirachi set coming in clutch in the late game. And that's going to be it, and we can move on to the next one because this is a little bit long on this match, so we'll go ahead and hop into game number 2. Alright, so in game number 2, we have the Gypsy King, Gypsy King taking on Skyrise, and this game was a little bit hacksy. It wasn't my favorite to watch. I definitely would have preferred to watch these two guys play without any kind of outside influences, just pure skill and stuff like that. Two of my favorite builders. I do enjoy watching these guys play. Like I mentioned, this game was a little bit hacksy, so it's not my favorite to even look back at. We'll go ahead and hop into it though. You can see the Mega Gallade and Weavile core is really, really nice, and then Gypsy has ways to kind of pressure that to open up holes for Reuniclus, which is really nice. And he has a Scarf Kyurem to try to catch a Mega Gallade off guard and be able to knock that thing out, as well as a Weavile potentially. Spamming Outrage is really nice once Slurpuff and Weavile are gone. As you can see, these Scald Burns, and then you're going to see some, I believe right here, yeah, the Metagross is going to come in, and we're going to see some Meteor Mash misses as he lands one, gets the boost. He's going to land another on Reuniclus, I believe, and I think he gets another boost. No, he didn't get another boost. I think he gets a boost right here. Yeah, there he goes. He gets a boost there. So there's been some burns and some attack raises there, and 3 of them actually. And now the Keldeo comes in, and it gets a Scald Burn as well, which makes sure that this Earthquake doesn't knock out. So a little bit unfortunate there with the burns, and that many raises was a little bit absurd as well. Anyways, it's not going to be, the raises aren't going to come back and, just 100% defeat Gypsy or anything like that. And we're going to see this pretty cool Weavile set here as the Magearna comes in, and it's going to reveal Natural Gift, so that is pretty cool to see. Gets a critical hit there, so it's kind of less cool, but it was still cool to see. It gets a critical hit and still doesn't knock it out, so that just goes to show you how bulky Magearna is. But now you can see this Kyurem comes in and goes straight for the Fusion Bolt, reveals its Scarf, catches the Weavile off guard. I'm sure it might have had Low Kick or something like that, or just wanted to knock its item off and prevent like subs and things like that. But yeah, it was able to catch it off guard with a Scarf Fusion Bolt. And now the Slurpuff comes in. So you're going to see, I guess this player out there was kind of just gauging how much damage it could do to the Slurpuff and what kind of set it was going to be, and it reveals to be a Wish Protect set. And so Gypsy goes hard into his Torn, which is a fine play. Both of these guys, fine players, like I mentioned. The only thing that even deterred this match to me a little bit was the fact that it was so haxy. We are going to see, I think the Tyranitar outspeeds the Milotic, but actually was kind of fearful there, so it didn't actually go for it. Brings in his Reuniclus and tries to set up, but I think it ends up having haze, and he's going to end up having to switch out anyway because of the haze. I think. Yeah. Reveals haze finally, and kind of deters Gypsy from wanting to set up. Just kind of gauges and scouts what he wants to do, and he is going to be adamant on hazing his stat boost away. But yeah, Gypsy goes back into his Torn, and Torn with Taunt is so good in my opinion. Can prevent a lot of weird things from being too annoying. And like I mentioned earlier, the Secure Black is a really nice set with this Outrage. I'm guessing that's Adamant Outrage. I'm pretty sure that's what Sky said it had to be. And going for the Outrage there with the Curum was a fine play. Like I believe Gypsy says it in the chat. Had he went Slurpuff on the Outrage, he would not have been locked in and would have been able to, switch out to Magearna or Torn or something like that. But yeah, basically this game's going to be tough for Sky to win at this point. I believe, yeah, he gets a critical hit there on the Stone Edge. Not too much Sky could do at this point. Got caught off guard a couple times, and like I mentioned, this match was really, really haxy and wasn't really too fun to watch. But yeah, let's see how it's going to end up here. I think excuse me, Tyranitar just comes through here in the end game, knocks out the Zapdos, and then the Tornadus is able to taunt this thing, prevent it from recovering up, and it's able to do enough damage with Supersonic Sky Strike to knock out with Hurricane the following turn. So yeah, that was a pretty good game, despite the hacks and stuff like that. I know it's a 5-0. Looked a lot closer than that during the game though, and yeah, definitely looking forward to a rematch between these two in the future of this league in particular. But yeah, that's going to be it, and we can hop into game 3. Alright, so in game number 3, we have the Portland Crobats taking on the Reno Reggies, Eric and Aki, or Aki and Eric, respectively. And they've got some pretty scary squads, as you see on screen. Mamoswine, Mega King, Infernape, Tapu Lele, very, very threatening offensively. And then Aki's got some really nice wall breakers in Conkeldurr and Mega Mawile with some nice cleanup mons like a Serp, Scarf, Excadrill, or like a Manaphy with like Tail Glow or something like that. It could also be a breaker as well. So yeah, pretty scary squads, or pretty much scary squads on both sides of the field. I believe both lead off with their rockers. Or he's actually gonna, well, I guess Infernape could potentially be a rocker, but yeah, he's gonna hard switch into the Excadrill, fearing like Scarf Earthquake, which is a fine play. And yeah, they both get their rocks up. I was guessing that this Excadrill was probably Sash, and it has its IVs, got like 14 IVs in speed or something like that, to underspeed the Excadrill, or excuse me, the Skarmory, and get off a slow rapid spin, always. And always, 1v1 the Skarm, which is really cool to see. And he brings in this Serp here, and it has knockoff, and it's going to reveal Glare as well, right before I believe it gets whirlwinded out back into the Excadrill. Nope, goes into the Conkeldurr. And this thing reveals the Flame Orb and Thunder Punch. So here, this is actually where I think the turning point of the match is too, because with the Para, this thing's going to drop, like Skarmory is at 14% anyway, you don't need it. Why do you go out to Serena? This is the turning point of the match. Serena and Skarmory are both now gone, basically. They're both gone. Unless this thing uses synthesis right now, it's gone. And it doesn't, it just U-turns out. So yeah, basically out. Obviously, Queenly Majesty blocked the Mach Punch, so it didn't have to worry about that, and U-turn was a fine play. And look at this Mawile surviving a Fire Blast from Infernape. That was just insane. Landed a nice play rough, knocked out that bad boy. And this is actually a pretty quick match. I believe it's like 19 or 18 turns or something like that, where I think Manaphy is going to be able to come in on the Mamoswine, set up the Tail Glow, and it's going to be game over from there, as it's going to be able to click Surf, runs through Hydro Vortex to make sure that it knocks out the Mega King, and then the rest of them should drop to Shadow Ball and Surf respectively. So yeah, it's going to be a good game to these two fellers, and yeah, not too much to say about that. I think the turning point was definitely when Serena went down. Like, it was a nice, check or semi-check to Manafee, and for no reason it was dropped, and Skarmory was sack fodder anyway, paralyzed 14%. So, not too much to say there. I think that was a bad play in the turning point. But yeah, it's going to be a good game, and we can move on to the game number, four, I believe. Okay, so in this fourth game, we've got Phantom Base taking on Nova Hawk, the New York Cosmox taking on the New Orleans Faints, and I called this one right, if you guys remember. I had Tyler winning. I didn't expect it to be like this, though, and I definitely saw some cool things on both sides. This was one of the funner games to commentate, despite the RNG. Like, there was an RNG in this match, too, but check this out. Nova Hawk leads off with the Lucario versus potential Veil offense. So what you might expect is Aurora Veil, and while that's being set up, you can just set up an agility with Lucario. And like if you I'm sure this thing's bulky enough to take one Moonblast, and then Meteor Mash would have bopped the Alolan Ninetales. However, it sets up a Sword Dance as well, so it's a double dance Lucario with Meteor Mash, and I'm sure like its other move has to be close combat, right? It has to be. I can't understand anything else. It wouldn't make any sense for it to be. I don't know why he goes for the Meteor Mash here. He misses, but I'm not sure why he went for it. Like, I can't think of why he wouldn't have close combat. Anyways, had he not missed, though, Tyler would have been down 2 Mons immediately, and then Lucario would have died, to the Hailstorm. So that's a little bit unfortunate. But yeah, like I mentioned, some other cool things. He U-turns out into his Charizard on the Zeraora, thinking that the Zeraora couldn't hit it, but it does over half to it, doing 56% with Dual Chop. But yeah, +1 Dragon Claw going to be able to easily knock out the Zeraora, but Miss Magius reveals the Sash and the Power Gem. Not Scarf, but Sash, so that's pretty cool. So if Zard even got up to +2 speed, it would have still been able to check it. But running a Sashmon on this potentially, or having Hail Up and a Sashmon, that was pretty scary, in my opinion. I don't necessarily agree with that. But yeah, we're going to see this Alolan Ninetales set up an Aurora Veil here as the Feeny goes for the Soak and turns it into a Water type. That was pretty cool. So all kinds of cool techs here. Goes for the Nasty Play. Feeny goes for the Taunt, but just a little bit too late for that. And this thing's going to reveal, I believe, Freeze Dry, and it's going to be an easy 2-hit KO. Probably would have OHKO'd had it been an Ice type. But yeah, it lost its Ice typing, so it's not got a stab boost here. Still going to be able to pick up the 2-hit KO and potentially knock out the Greninja here as well. And I believe that should be game. Yeah, no, he actually saves that to make sure he doesn't have any problems with the Gliscor, knowing that he can set up on the Celebi with his Lottie. So we got Calm Mind Lottie here with Dragon Pulse. Gonna kind of double down, I believe, to the Toxic. And then Alolan Ninetales comes in and picks up the knockout on Gliscor. So that was a pretty cool match. A little bit haxy at the beginning, but fun to watch despite that. Alright, in game number 5, we've got Sceptile MC taking on Marin Varen. And they've both got some pretty scary squads. You got Gengar and Kartana, huge threats. Mew, obviously, you never know what it's going to do, and the potential for Scarf Terrakion or Scarf Togekiss is pretty scary. Terrakion could also be like Swords Dance or Rock Polish or Double Dance, and the Mega Blastoise is a bulky water type, so those are always problematic. And then Marin's got potential for Sticky Webs, Rocks, and I think Toxic Spikes, which is really nice. Has Defog support and 2 different Mons of his own. I don't necessarily see him hazard stacking it in this matchup because, the Mons he brought are, 2 Defoggers, so I don't think he'll necessarily be stacking. I think, and if he does stack, I do expect him to not mind Rocks on his own side. And he's got a pretty scary squad too. Zygarde 50%, Mega Scizor, very scary Mons, Swampert, and Rotom-Wash, 2 bulky water types. So yeah, let's go ahead and hop into it and see what's going on here. I think Mega Scizor's a fine check to Kartana as well. I don't think it's going to be running Hidden Power Fire in this matchup in particular. And this Rotom reveals to outspeed the Mew and is going to be able to 2-hit KO it with a Hydro Pump here unless the Mew switches out, which it does. Goes out into the Blastoise on, I think, a Volt Switch, which is pretty ballsy because Blastoise is like necessary for Mega Scizor. But I believe George recognizes that immediately, and he 100% saves Blastoise. So we're going to get here to where this thing drops. He's going to bring in his Mew on the Swampert. Basically a chance to roost up here. And Swampert gets Rocks Up and gets a Toxic off on the Mew, synchronizes with the Swampert, and the Kartana comes in hard on the Swampert on an Earth Power. An Earth Power. Had it been an Earthquake, it would have taken less damage, but its special defense is thinner than it is. And he makes an over prediction here going for the all-out pummeling, predicting the Swampert to switch out, but he actually stays in, and the all-out pummeling just prompts its berry. Does put it in range of Gengar though, so that was really nice. Able to pick it off with the Shadow Ball there, and Mega Scizor is able to 2-hit KO this thing with Shadow Ball, Bullet Punch, and survive the Shadow Ball. He is going to switch out though, preserving his Mega Venusaur, so Blastoise getting closer and closer to being in range of one final Bullet Punch, as is the rest of Sceptile's squad, so we got to keep an eye on that. Make sure Mega Blastoise is healthy enough. It took 15% from Bullet Punch, I do believe, so we'll see if that comes into play later on. Drakion is going to go, I believe, for the close combat here, as the Ribombee comes in and tanks it. I think that's a 4 times resistant, and fires off a Moonblast and does almost half to the Togekiss. This thing reveals to not be as bulky, and probably Scarf, and does reveal its Scarf there. And this is interesting here, bringing in a Zygarde. I thought it might have been a weakness policy. Dragonance would have been really cool. But yeah, able to at least speed tie with a max speed Togekiss there. I don't think it was max speed. I don't think that was a speed tie. I just think, you know, Sceptile might have had just a little bit less speed investment there. George did. However, Mew tanks the hit, so that roost it got off earlier upon the Swampert was huge. And now it's basically coming down to if Mega Blastoise is in range of Scizor or not. So this thing's going to drop to the Bullet Punch, and the Mega Blastoise is going to come in. I believe it's going to be at, what, 25%? And that's just out of range of Bullet Punch. It's going to be able to knock out the Mega Scizor with the Scald, because Mega Scizor was not speed invested and the Mega Blastoise was. So yeah, this is a pretty good game. No major hacks or anything like that. It's really fun to watch. So yeah, we can hop into the last game of the week features Carson taking on Alpha, the Venus Shamans taking on the Rocky Mountain Marowaks. So the first thing I noticed when this match started was that there's a Tapu Koko on the field and there's no Electric Immunity on the other side of the field. So as long as Carson doesn't play bad, he should be able to win this match 100%. This is one of those matches where you can just look at a preview and see that slowly but surely Tapu Koko, bar any kind of surprises, will finish this matchup. It will start the match and finish the match here as he leads off with it. He's able to just U-turn out, so their Rotom already weakened immensely. And that is his best switch in to the Koko. Snorlax comes in, it's burnt, so that's not too big of an issue there. Is able to beat that thing down with his Incineroar, basically. Switches into Mega Lop, forces in the Landers, and the Landers comes in, reveals Superpower, catches the Lop off guard, and knocks that bad boy out. Yeah, not too much to say about that. I think this match is not as fast-paced as some of the other ones, but not necessarily a long, drawn-out match, and Koko's going to end up putting in the work, I do believe. So basically sacks off the Snorlax here. Didn't really need it. It was burnt and couldn't really rest up in the terrain anyway. The Rotom comes in on the Koko once again, but is, like I mentioned earlier, getting beat down so fast that it's not even a check. It's not a semi-check. It's not a soft check. And the Landers is able to come in and just fire off another Superpower, picks up another knockout. So really cool to see that bad boy putting in the work. Buzzwole eating up hits from Sneasel is really nice too. Primarina is one of my favorite Pokemon now. It just hits so hard. Look at that, 33% to an Empoleon. Are you fucking kidding me? Anyways, the Empoleon reveals Roar, so that was really nice to see, in my opinion. I believe that was a torrent boosted surf as well, knocking out the Sneasel there. And the Landers comes in, almost knocks out the Uxie there with the knockoff, but not quite. And I believe Coco comes in and is able to clean this matchup with Dazzling Gleam and Thunderbolt, as I mentioned. The craziest thing is Alpha had Niddle Queen on the bench. Niddle Queen on the bench. But yeah, that's all I'm going to say, and we'll hop back into the recap for a second. Alright, so just recapping up on everything. Pokemon of the Week, Mega Venusaur, my pick'em's 3 out of 6, not that great. The Montreal Infernos picked up a huge 6-0 loss to the Wisconsin Weezing. The San Francisco Arcanitis barely beat the Zagreb Zangooses. The New Orleans Faints had a Haxie win, or they had Hax against them, but ended up, wait, hold on, I think it was the other way around. New Orleans had Hax against them, and they ended up losing. A bit unfortunate because they could have started the match out with a 5-4 lead, with Lucario picking up 2 kills before fainting. So that would have been cool to see. The Venus Shamans did defeat the Rocky Mountain Marowaks. Coco going ham in that match. Sydney Sharpedos picking one up over the Goldenrod Zebstracus. A little bit haxy, but hopefully they can have a rematch later in the season. And then we've got the Portland Crowbats picking up the win over the Reno Reggies. So yeah, that's going to be it for week number 2. And we can go ahead and hop into what my power rankings look like now after we've got 2 weeks down. Alright, so here we are. And we've got the power rankings 1 through 12. We'll start out with 1 through 6. The Sydney Sharpedos, the Venus Shamans, the San Francisco Arcaniners, Portland Crowbats, the Goldenrod Zebstracus, and the Reno Reggies coming in at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And for numbers 7 through 12, we have the Wisconsin Weezing, the Montreal Infernos dropping quite a bit. They did have a big 6-0 loss, and yeah, that was tough. So we've got the New York Cosmogs at number 9, the Zagreb Zangooses at number 10, the Rocky Mountain Marowaks at number 11, and the New Orleans Faints at number 12. Now, I don't think anybody necessarily played bad. We did have the Goldenrod Zebstracus game was a little bit haxy. Sky drops a little bit due to a big loss. The Reno Reggies copped a W, I believe. No, they copped an L and they dropped a little bit the Portland Crowbats, but they didn't play bad. I think they had one misplay where they brought in Serena on a Conqueror for no reason when Scarm was the sack. But that was about it. Helmy had a big game, a big win. He jumps up in the power rankings pretty high, all the way up to number 7. Like I mentioned, the Montreal Inferno is dropping quite a bit. The New York Cosmogs pick up a win, but it was a haxy win over the 12th ranked team, so they're staying around number 9 there. And then the Zagreb Zangooses came close versus the number 3 team, but 2 losses in a row is going to have them at number 10. I think these are pretty fair power rankings. The Rocky Mountain Marowaks didn't necessarily play bad, but leaving Niddle Queen on the bench was a bad call, and I don't agree with that. So they're going to be at number 11. And New Orleans Faints caught 2 big L's back-to-back weeks, where unfortunately one of them was haxy, the other one was pretty straight up. But yeah, that's going to be it for the power rankings. Let me know what you guys think about that, and we'll hop into the transactions for a minute. Alright, so with the transactions, we just go over the transactions just real quick. Real brief. The only changes this week were Septile MC notes that he will have Mudsdale and Lilligant as his last 2 Z-move users alongside Cortana. Carson dropped Sandslash and Rotom for Hitmonlee and made Hitmonlee a new Z-move user. And then Alpha dropped quite a bit. He dropped Nidoqueen, Sneasel, Uxie, and Rotom and picked up Thundurus Incarnate, Decidueye, Acelgor, and Bastiodon. And Acelgor took over for Rotom as for a Z-move user. Immediately when Nidoqueen was dropped, Sebi jumped in, dropped Nidoking, and picked up Nidoqueen, and I can respect that. But yeah, that's going to be it for the transactions, and we can hop into our week 3 pick'ems and finish up here. Alright, so for my week 3 pick'ems, I've got the Montreal Infernos over the Zagreb Zangooses. I think this is another game where Mega Alakazam and Celesteela and the newly picked up Nidoqueen. I think Sebi's got this matchup. I don't think Marin's playing bad or anything. and it's hard to say that a player's going to lose 3 in a row. But yeah, I do see Sebi bouncing back from his big loss and picking up a win here. I see the San Francisco Arcanines picking up a win against the New York Cosmos. That's a bit closer one though. I think the matchup's kind of weird. It could be a landslide in either way, or it could be a really, really close one. I got the Wisconsin Wheezing over the New Orleans Saints purely based on matchup and momentum. Helmy is on fire right now. Big 6-0 win against Sebi, and just played lights out in that game. I think he just looks on fire, and I think he'll get a win against that 0-2 team here. Next up, we got the Rocky Mountain Marowaks and the Sydney Sharpedos, and I think this one's going to be a fire game. We've got Gypsies, Kieran Black, McGarren, and Tornado Therian, Rocky Mountains, and Alphas, Garchomp, Mega Lopunny, Bronzong, so on and so forth. Looks to be a good matchup. It'll be fun to watch. The Golden Runs Up Strikers taking on the Portland Crowbats. I do have the Portland Crowbats winning that one. Aki just seems to have Sky's number, despite Sky being, one of the better battlers in my opinion. I'm not saying he's one of the best battlers in this league. I'm just saying he's one of the better battlers that I know personally. I enjoy his builds a lot, but it just seems that Aki has his number. And last but not least, we have the Venus Shamans. We have them over the Reno Reggies, and this one's purely because Carson's on a 2-game win streak, and he has a very, very solid squad with Landers and Carnett and Tapo Coco putting in some real work right now. And then things that can check those are easily trapped by Gothitelle and then eliminated. So that's going to be my Week 3 pick'ems. This is going to be the Week 2 recap and power rankings, and then everything else that I added in. So let me know what you guys think. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.